Great. Okay. Yeah, go for it. Okay. So people are joining now. Good to see you all.
No, yeah.
I think I can hear somebody talking Chinese. Jeremy Ling, would that be somebody in your background? Okay. So we begin at midday. Everybody who's arrived early, just put up with us as we continue to get set up. Get your cups ready, get your equipment ready. We'll talk about all that at midday, but you're here now. You're welcome to watch, to ask questions. This isn't a YouTube. This is an interactive session. Just obviously when people are speaking, don't speak over them. If you have a question about something but we've already passed it, type it. Aiko will field any questions in message boxes, things like that. But we have got a lot of ground to cover today, so we won't dwell too long on any one particular thing. We want an overall mouthfeel experience rather than any one specific coffee. We're not going to sink too far into the rabbit hole with any one particular coffee. We recommend you get some drinking water, sip it now. If you've had breakfast or whatever, reset your palate. Okay. 4 minutes to go, people. 4 minutes to go.
Should we ask people to turn on the video if possible?
Yeah, it'd be nice. I think they're going to wait till midday, but yeah, put that as a message. Okay. Feel free to have your video on. Like I said, this is an interactive session. We like to see everybody with the same coffees, having the same experience. I want this to be a unique experience where we're doing a live cupping with the same coffees. Good to see you, Morgan. And so also just, what was I going to say? Have your coffees laid out, have your equipment ready. I'm going to do my big reveal as well on the cups, so got to hide them. We've got a big reveal today, big announcement. There we go. This is going to happen during the session as well. And your views, you can remember on Google Meet, you can have it in gallery view or tile view. Speaker view tends to be the best. So it just kind of makes on a big screen, anybody who's talking bigger, and then you clearly see them. So I recommend that you go to the 3 dots at the bottom of the Google Meet. Next to the red button is the 3 dots, and then change view and set it to either speaker view or tile view if you want to see everybody permanently. But speaker view is the easiest to sort of deal with the session. And tilt your camera down slightly so we can see your cupping bowls as well. It's always good to see everybody with the same things. 3 minutes to go. Okay. Daniel, did you say you've already ground your coffee or you're going to grind it? Because you can do it now if you want.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing it together.
Oh, wait. Sorry, Daniel. Do you want to do it? Everybody's going to grind together. Sorry. Okay. A lot of people had to actually sign up to Google to join. So I do apologize for those who now have an unnecessary Google account. I'm sure they'll come in useful in some way later. Ah, there's someone big from Facebook over there. I would have liked to have done it on something like this. Facebook have its own one.
Yeah, we do Facebook Live, but it's Meta now.
And it adjusts the camera. It moves around. I learned that was very.
Oh, the portal. Yeah.
I'll be using that today. All right, all people come. Yeah. All right, good. More people arriving. We have 1 minute to go, and then I'm just going to start. So welcome, Tanti. Welcome, everybody. And we have somebody called Bruna, Jonathan Vanderbroek, but he's going to hide his camera. Lots of you hiding your cameras today. Mark Ziga, is that right? Hi, Mark.
I almost.
Thomas.
Almost.
Oh, almost.
Almost.
Giga, right?
Yes.
Giga. Where are you, Mark?
From Hungary.
Hungary. Oh, fantastic. Good to meet you. So, right, more people coming in. Excellent. We have 1 minute to go, and then I'm just going to start. Hi, Ludo, Lassie, Bruna. Excellent. You've all got taster sets? If not, you should get one. Brilliant. It's going to be a very unique experience. As you can see, Sumo Coffee Roasters right there in the corner. That's Daniel. He will be leading the session soon. Sorry, what?
Ludo is from Naga. We work.
Ah, Ludo from Naga Coffee Roasters. We have another roaster here. That's great. Now, Naga Coffee Roasters specifically focus on Asian origins. So that's fascinating in itself. Nugget from Turkey is here. That's Black Honey Girl, super creative. She designed our Christmas logo, the little skull. Might want to put your camera horizontally there, Nugget, if you want a nice wide view. And you, Tanti. Okay. It's midday. It's time to start. Get your bowls, get your cups ready. Welcome to today's live cupping. That's November edition, and it's all about mouthfeel. And we have a very special guest who is going to help us today learn a lot more about what it means to taste coffee. That's Daniel Hobart, the former 2019 World Cup Taster Champion. Incredible. And the head roaster and founder of Sumo Coffee Roasters. That's your fourth coffee number one, not fourth. The blue one, which is a Brazil, and it's the creamy mouthfeel one. And together today, we're going to cup all four of these coffees and learn a hell of a lot more about the experience. So let's get ready. I think the best thing to do is to just quickly, I'm going to fly through some of the instructions, and then Daniel will elaborate on what he does for a cupping session. So you all know that what I say generally for a cupping is get 12 grams of coffee, or at least have every cup the same amount. Don't make it imbalanced. Grind it to something like a medium fine or a fine grind, because you're going to be doing it in steep, not with filter papers or anything like that. You're just going to pour roughly on a ratio of 14 or 15, 16 to 1. And we tend to do 12, 200, and we fill, you could just fill a bowl. You don't really need to measure. This is about doing this quickly and easily. This is not supposed to be a high-tech session. It's supposed to be for your mouth an exercise, not in terms of brewing. 16.6 to 1 is the exact ratio if you want exact numbers, but just know roughly that you're doing about 12 to 200 and filling a cup. And then when you get your kettle ready, make sure you have enough water to pour all 4 cups. Because if you start to run out, you don't want to fill half a cup. You want to stop, refill, and then continue to fill 1 bowl at a time. You do not want half a cup and then you have to refill your kettle. Gary is here as well, and Natalie. Good to see you guys. Sorry. Yes. How many?
Grind it together.
Yes, we're about to grind together. So those of you who are hand grinding, if you want to wait, Daniel's going to lead us. So Daniel, please tell us how you do a cupping session.
Hey guys, first of all, it's such a pleasure to be here. I hope everybody hear me well, and it's such a pleasure to share this wonderful Sunday with all of you guys. And so we're gonna go straight for how I do the cupping. I'm using the SCA standard protocol. That's 8.65 grams per 150 grams of coffee. And as Tim said, 12 grams, 200 mils of water. That would work perfectly. So basically, I'm using a Comandante because what we try to understand every single day at the roastery is how you guys brew at home. So most of the home consumer have a Comandante, and it's easy to give the right recipe. So I'm using 24 clicks on Comandante, or red click upgrade, we do it 48 clicks. That's around medium grind size. Water temperature is 96 degrees. Because it's quite cold here in the roastery, we like to go a little bit higher with the temperature than the standard 93, 94. But it's up to you guys. If you're at home and it's nice and warm, you can use 94 degrees. It's more than fine. So the idea with the cupping is that we have to let the coffee brew for 10 minutes. So first we're gonna add the water very fast, fill up the cups, or the amount if you use a scale to 100 mils, and then wait for 4 minutes until the coffee kind of made like a crust, and then you can break the crust, clean, get all the crust on top that is not really that pleasant in taste, and we let it until the rest of the time ends. That's the 10 minutes, because what we try to reach is a desired temperature that we can actually taste the coffee. If it's too hot, if you start drinking it too hot, you're probably gonna burn your tongue and you're probably gonna be gone for today, and you're not able to taste most about those 4 coffees. So basically, very straightforward. We grind the coffee. We pour all 4 in the same time, and then we can talk.
Excellent. Let's get grinding, because that's going to take a while for people with hand grinders, including you, Daniel. I have the Ode, so I'm going to grind on the cupping setting, which is between 2 and 3. It's out of number 10, out of 11 settings, you can see that's on the finer end. So anybody with a machine grinder will be done very quickly, like me. Hand grinding, get going, guys. Yeah, you might want to keep your grinders away from the microphones while this happens. Okay. And we're going to smell the dry aroma. This is also very important. So take in the dry aroma, because you also want to take a little bit of memory of the dry aroma, because someone told me that when you smell it at dry and then the taste, if it carries through all the way to the taste, that's an indicator that that coffee has a certain characteristic that holds from the dry aroma to the wet aroma to the taste, something quite similar. Whereas some coffees, the dry aroma and the taste can be so different, and that in itself is something to note. Straight away, your one, Daniel, very gentle, lovely sort of smell. Already picking up the fruity complexity in the dry aroma.
Like, this is basically what we call evaluating the fragments before we pour water. When we start putting water, we evaluate the aroma. And then there's so many ways of experimenting the mixture of aroma and taste. And it's very easy. You can do it at home. It's just by covering your nose and try to drink something. And in the time that you drink, you don't really feel that much, because your sense of smell is not working, because you covered your nose, obviously. And then when you release, you're going to start feeling all the aromas, and the taste start to get more pronounced because of the olfactory system.
Right. You can transfer from that to that, and then it can...
So if you have a cold and your nose is black, you can taste it.
If you have a, yes, whoever's got a cold, please make sure you can get some kind of aroma. Right. Number 2. Okay. You might want to heat it up now, yeah? Start heating it. Sometimes
for different coffee you need a different grind set, but grind size, but that's a little bit more tech, and especially the larger beans like Facamara, Marago Hipe, they need a little bit finer grind size than you normally do.
Why is that? Excellent. The Ritu is smelling so good, says Arnie. Yeah, you're right. I forgot to smell hillside, dry aroma. Oh, wow. Very nice, deep, warm smell from hillside as well. And now the juicy natural. Now, did everybody see my interview with Roberto Matta, the creator of number 4? If you haven't, after today, after this session, I recommend you go onto IGTV and watch my very, very interesting conversation with this incredible farmer producer. He's a bit of a mad scientist as well, loves experimenting with different processes and soaking the juices of other processes back into his coffees to create this incredible juicy natural. So yeah, I recommend you watch that. Okay. Well, an incredibly sort of gentle smell from the juicy natural, considering what I know it tastes like. Bit of a surprise at how laid back the aroma is. Wow. Okay. So I can take this ode grinder off the table now, because we're done with that. Can I reveal the cupping bowl? Okay, guys. I'd like to reveal something very exciting to all of you. This is the first look at one of our newest products, and it's available on our web shop. So to enhance your cupping experiences, wouldn't it be great if you had 4 cupping bowls, each with the appropriate logo on it? Red, yellow, green, and blue. So you never mess up your cupping experiences. Fantastic, right? You've got it. Yeah, that's okay. It's okay.
Definitely better than my mug approach.
And that one?
This one as well?
Show each one.
Okay.
That. There's green for green.
Green.
So you'll never get mixed up. You'll always know which one is which. We're very, very pleased with the glaze as well. We had a really nice company do this.
What kind of size will these bowls be?
This would be for a 200 ml. We're going to fill this to nearly the top, just before the top, to get a really nice cupping experience, because these bowls are made by W. Wright. They also make cupping spoons, and so you get really nice quality where the bowl sort of goes like that, and then it increases its sort of width at the end, which I think is really great for taking up aroma. I don't really want a cupping bowl to be too much of a cup. I want it to be almost like a bowl. So I think these ones really do enjoy that kind of bowl-like experience, the way they taper outwards. They feel great in the hand, very nice quality. We had to give it our 4 color codes because that's something you can either use or not use. You can use your own cuppings, but I think they're really, really useful for our monthly cupping experience. And to go with it, we also have our latest cupping spoon. So the old one, I wasn't pleased with because it's a very, very flat spoon. But our new ones are by W. Wright again. So you have a really, really nice deep bowl. The important thing is the design. Aiko's now going to show you a close-up of this cupping spoon. Perhaps the only cupping spoon in the world with a measure in the middle. So you can actually measure pointlessly how much you're sipping. How incredibly useless but wonderful is that? So these are available now on our store as well. And we're doing a giveaway at the end of today. The person randomly that we choose will win this cupping spoon, our first of version 2. So that's at the end of today. We'll announce a giveaway for that. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, after tasting.
After the tasting card upload, I should say. So it's about uploading your tasting card, and then from those people that we have all our tasting cards from, we'll choose a lucky winner of this cupping spoon, and we have more available on our store. Right. They will be available on our store after today. It's available now, yes. Okay, so shall we begin? Is everybody ready? I want to get sort of the brewing going because that takes 5 to 10 minutes of
4 minutes.
4 minutes and then 10 minutes. Yeah, 4 and then 10. So we're going to do the first one. Now, does anybody need the full instructions on how to do it all? Because we're going to get Daniel. I normally explain it, but I'd like Daniel to take us through his process of doing the cupping.
So normally it's 10 minutes total. You can start tasting the coffee after 10 minutes or 65 degrees, let's say. But after the moment you pour the water, after 4 minutes, we break the crust and then we wait until we reach 10 minutes. So the total brew time should be 10 minutes.
Right. 4 and then 6.
4 and 6.
Excellent. So here we go.
What's the temperature?
Temperature of the water. What would you do yours at, Daniel?
I'm doing 96 because here it's a little bit cold. As you can see, I'm proper dressed. Yeah, it's the roastery that like normally not too warm because we coffee here as well. And I'm using 96, but you can use 93, 94.
Okay. So if you're in a warm country, 93, 94. If you're in a cold country, 96. Daniel's in Dublin. He's not from Dublin.
As well, it depends where you're living. If you're very high altitude above sea level, the boiling temperature will be completely different.
Right. And these things matter, especially to professionals like Daniel, these tiny little degree changes or anything like that, variables. What variables do you watch for the most, Daniel? I mean, what variable concerns you the most when doing a cupping? Is it the grind size? Is it the temperature? Is there anything that you're very particular about? No, grind size shouldn't be any problem. The cupping is evaluated, and normally when I do cupping, I always look for defects. I'm not looking for actually something specific. I'm kind of doing it very objective because I don't want, obviously, most of the coffees that we taste in the quality control is our coffee, so we have to be very objective. So we don't have any information, we just put numbers. But mainly we focus on defect, and the variables that I'm really looking at is consistency. We have to do it as consistent as possible. I actually spoke at a roaster the other day, and he told me he had a consultancy with Scott Rao. And Scott Rao, apparently, when he does that same thing that you do, looking for the defects, he grinds much finer. He says he goes really, really as fine as possible. Like number 1 on the EK. I mean, not on the EK, sorry, on the Comandante. He goes very, very fine, but increases the ratio 18-1. And he says that helps him really see the defects in coffees when he's cupping. That's really interesting.
It is. It could work. My point of view is that Scott generalized for everybody. What we do in Sumo is focus on very high quality coffee. So when you buy 87 plus points coffee, you don't need to necessarily expect severe defects, unacceptable defects, because you paid way more money than 83 points or 82 points or 81 points coffee. But people misunderstood a lot Scott Rao, and I think he's amazing, but he's talking in general. And every information that he shares about roasting, cupping, brewing is for general. And specialty coffee, it's a small percentage, and he's not referring on that small percentage specifically.
Right. Interesting. That's really good to know. And we here know that at the coffee club, we only like the very best coffees. So yes, that wouldn't be something we would do. Right.
So
if everybody is ground and ready, we're going to pour. We're going to get the kettle and pour at the same time as Daniel. So let's get our water ready.
Everybody's water boiled.
Yeah.
Don't forget the time. Yeah, the time.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay.
From 1.
Try to pour very aggressively to kind of get a vortex.
Unfortunately, our regular kettle isn't working today, so we're using a pour-over kettle for this. Doesn't make it ideal, but good enough.
Daniel is using.
Oh, Daniel's doing a pour-over kettle as well. Sorry, I normally just use the regular kettle for this.
Yeah, we normally do proper cupping, let's say, when we buy coffee. After that, because we have different approaches for roasting profile. I mean, we roast for filter and we roast for espresso. We don't believe that only roast is ideal all the time. And it could work for some coffee in both ways, but we like a proper challenge and we like to do it right as much as we can, you know. And so we after we do the roast profile, we evaluate just literally for defects, and that's mainly on roast defects. Basically over roasted, under roasted, baked, and things like that, because we already decided about the coffee if it's good when we bought it, and then we just do by hand. Roaster often do important mistake. Let's say they just cup coffee. You have to do filter as well, pour overs as well, to understand how that coffee works for filter or how that coffee works on espresso. And it's very important because you're always going to have a info about your coffee, and you're always going to have a recipe to give to home brewers or even coffee shops.
So can you go back in your mind, Daniel, to when you weren't a professional, you were learning, and what was it that sort of helped you improve your palate and the cupping experience? What was it that you were sort of doing what were your best practices in cupping in your early days to get you sort of a better sensory experience, to make you the champion that you are, basically?
Well, it was kind of by accident, because it happened in 2015 when I competed first time, and someone put me on the list. I was more like the latte art guy and didn't pay that much attention on cupping. But it was basically something that I learned way in the back when I was a bartender, mixologist, professional mixologist, working back in Santorini, the cocktail bar. So to be a really good mixologist, you need to understand sensory. And I kind of knew that, the level of intensity, sweetness, sourness, bitterness, and so on. And in the moment I discovered coffee sensory, I got fascinated because it's so complex. And there are many ways to train your palate, many ways. And I think I went super aggressive with it. I had a crazy diet, like after I won in Berlin. Before I won in Berlin, I was preparing for 6 months with a crazy diet. So there are many ways, like even
a crazy diet.
Yeah, I did like a strict diet of 6 months with no salt, no pepper, no spiciness, no beer,
Wow.
no alcohol, no basically baby food, you know. And that helps me a lot. It made me be very precise, and everything felt so easy on the stage. That's the reason behind my time.
Wow.
In the competition. Yeah, I was really fast. Like I did in the final, 2 minutes 15, 7 from 8.
And what's the average time on the final?
6-7 minutes. It's world level. 4 minutes now. I saw like this year where they all of them, they were really fast. Now, guys, it's time to break the crust.
Right.
So what we do, we go very close, and we go with the spoon and gently press in to sink all the grounds on top.
Can Daniel put the bags down?
Yeah, Daniel, push the bags down so we can see your cups now when he's finished.
Yeah.
And you see how quickly he's doing it, guys? It's about comparison. Don't forget to dip your spoons between each cup, everyone.
So basically, until this point, that's the moment when we have a proper evaluation of the aroma. After that, it starts to fade a little bit. Like when you do a quality control, or you buy a coffee, or you want to like a Q grade exam, basically you have to be done with everything that you have to write down about the aromas by the time you break the crust.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you hear that, people? That's amazing. So everything to do with the aroma is at that beginning. Okay. I'll be very interested to hear what everybody thinks has the strongest aroma. It doesn't have to be beautiful the way you do it, your technique. Just make sure that you're removing any of that stuff from the surface. The rest will sink. And keep your spoons clean in between each bowl, no cross-contamination. They're all similar strength aroma. But how would you define the aroma when you write it down? Would you do it in terms of strength, or is there some other way you like to define the aroma when you note it down, Daniel?
Normally it's the intensity, but doesn't really matter so much for us because as I said before, we buy really unique coffees and we try to keep the quality really high, and in the same time try to encourage the farmers to work on really good quality coffees. And when you get an anaerobic or a carbonic maceration process or a natural, very funky natural, the intensity is really high. So that would be kind of like fool yourself a little bit just because the intensity is really high, and to penalize another coffee that is, let's say it's a wash or a semi-wash, like Paul Natural, like my Brazil, it's Paul Natural, so it's a semi-wash, and then we have second cup, I believe Ethiopia wash from the smell. And those two definitely, they are the last one. Number 4 is anaerobic, something mixed, probably mixed fermentation. And this one as well, it's a very funky natural. I actually like that, the smell. In Colombia, yeah?
Yeah.
Number 3. I'm a big fan in Colombia. I've been to so many farms in Colombia. Big fan. And we're planning to go back.
Yeah.
It's from the Reed Natural. It's a mix of varieties, Captura, Tabi, and Geisha. And we had all of them. We tried to get as many single varieties as possible and nano lots. We have a selection of macro lots, exotic lots, and nano lots. Basically, nano lots, they're very small batches. Like one that we're going to release soon is a 5 kilo batch. That's it. It's from Panama, so it's a very small batch, you know. And but there are some blends that already happened at the farm. So even though it's a micro lot, single farm, but the mix is happening at the farm, and they are amazing because they grow at the same altitude, the same terroir, the same soil, the same climate, everything is the same, and they grow really well together. And yeah, it's fantastic sometimes, you know, when you blend different varieties and you have the opportunity to taste them from the same farm, you know, blend at the farm. That's amazing. But we don't do blends. We don't focus on blends.
Now, when you say you don't focus on blends, it is a tricky thing, though, because a single origin coffee often is a blend of multiple farms. You would have to have maybe a single tree almost. And I did hear somebody competed once with that.
That's basically a nano lot when you get bought. I know that when you buy single origin, you might get, let's say, from a cooperative or a mill station, you get a blend of everything. But yeah, most of the cases you might get a blend, but we try to get as much as possible from the same farm and without blending it too much. I want to know exactly the root of where the cowing is coming from. And now it depends, because everything that you go more deep into it, you have to pay more.
Right.
So, you know, you have to make sense. Even like sometimes we paid more for the coffee because we love it so much and we wanted to reward the farmer. So most of our coffees are direct. Some of the coffees are from exporters that we really trust. Like this Brazil is from our friends from Ally. We work very close with Ally. And it's a variety that I had it in 2018 when I was in Brazil. And I was fascinated. It's a natural mutation between Icatu and Catuai. And as well, like Yellow Caparao, another coffee that we had, another variety that's stunning. Tapazio, another variety that it's amazing. And
did you say Tapazio?
Yeah.
Haven't had that variety yet. What kind of bean varietal is that?
It's a very, very, very small bean. We're gonna have a masterpiece from Brazil. I'm not gonna tell the farm yet because it's gonna be here around March. But we bought the entire lot there. So.
Oh wait, I did have. Yeah, they're tiny. I did try it once, and they're amazing. They're the smallest beans I ever saw, and
very similar with Larina in terms of quality, cup quality. Very, very fruity, very exotic. But I don't want to say more about that because we're launching in March, so it's
right. Okay, excellent. And Morley has joined us as well.
I think it's time to try the coffees.
Right, are we ready? Oh, so we're ready now. Let's do this, guys. Get your spoons, get your pens, get your brains ready. Here we go. Mouthfeel edition. So. Wow, already a big difference between number 1 and number 2.
So usually we want people to go through mouthfeel acidity.
Yeah, that's true. I should say our technique for doing this, Daniel, is that we sip, 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 and then write down mouthfeel for all 4, then do another sip and do acidity. We basically go through all 4 quite quickly. Is that how you would do it if you had a scorecard with you?
Yeah, well, I kind of used to do like Q grading, and give me a second.
Yeah. Now, just so you know, a Q grader's card is going to look very different to our tasting card. We designed it to be more simple, fun and easy, informative, but not professional. So Daniel's now going to show us a very different looking scorecard. Can you hold it up to the camera if you have?
I don't have the Q grading card with me.
Okay, you're using ours. Great. Okay.
I'm using yours. Yeah, it's just the way I do it. I do it really fast because I'm kind of used to have. You know, imagine you have 10 coffees and each coffee has 5 bowls of the same coffee, and you have to cup them all because you want to see if from those 5 cups that is from the same coffee, if one of them is spiked with a defect or is phenolic, or you know, you try to look for things that might not benefit if you buy the coffee, you know what I mean? And
okay,
so that's what I'm doing really fast.
Right.
And then spending a lot of time and thinking, because you have to understand that when you cup, the information disappear really fast. So you have to be really fast in making a decision. Okay, that's sweeter, this is more acidic, this is more heavy body, this is. And then again, don't be afraid to judge subjectively. It's about what you like. It's not about like, it's not your, let's say if it's not your chosen profession to be a quality controller or to buy beans, you always have to do subjective because this is what you like in the end of the day. For us, we have to be objective and we have to look for a balance, you know? So some coffees, they need some bitterness to balance the acidity and the sweetness.
Wow, that's really interesting. So your brain, when tasting, you are aware is engaged in a different way because your approach is about balance. So you almost welcome certain things that a critic might not. Interesting.
So like, for example, for number 1, my coffee, when we do cupping profiling, it's completely different than this one. It's more developed. This is a filter profile, right? And as you noticed, before we broke the crust, because we roasted quite light, it starts to fade a little bit. But normally that's a sign that the coffee is quite light roasted. But It's fascinating how the aromas and the flavor is not affected at all because of the way we develop the coffee. So it was light but quite developed and easy to extract. And when we do that, when we do cupping, we normally roast dark when we buy coffee because we want to get out everything out of it. So on this coffee, number one specifically, this coffee was really fruity, and we approached the profile in the way that we wanted to keep that. So we went fast, not very aggressive, like let's say we do a Colombia, but quite developed. And that's the reason that the body is quite creamy. But we still kept the fruitiness profile of it, you know, and we always look for a balance. We try to find a balance, and imagine if you go really developed with the coffee and like you go start to get more bitter at the end, you're gonna lose all this super nice fruitiness, mouthfeel, creamy, and the acidity. First of all, for Brazil, it's a really nice acidity, and that's fascinating me. So I wanted to keep it as pure as possible.
Yeah, I mean, everyone should know that Brazil coffees, it can be a real challenge to get acidity, bright acidity, because it's a country with just low altitude coffees. The highest altitude in Brazil is probably 1,100 or 1,200 meters. Really not typical. Typically, you'd get between 800 and 1,000 meters. And I find that the really wonderful, bright acidities only really start at 1,100 meters. So this Brazil coffee exhibiting that kind of acidity is a miracle.
And it's a simple process. It's a semi-washed. It's not anaerobic or carbonic maceration or a mix of experimental processing that you kind of have to boost a little bit the acidity of it, because the acidity is quite tricky, you know, and it can turn really easy from citric to acidic, especially with the fermentation process. And but yeah, I think we were super lucky to get a coffee like that. And when we cup it, I said definitely I have to. I didn't even know what it was because we do it with numbers. Well, it was so fruity and such a nice acidity that we had to get it. And all, like number two, it's a very nice, very, very refreshing, typical washed Ethiopian that I really love. Third spot is the Colombian that it's, for me, Colombia is something very close to my heart in terms of coffee. And it's amazing, and amazing how Tim said the altitude of Colombian, you know, they can grow even 2,200 meters above sea level. We have a coffee now from El Obraje, Cup of Excellence lot, that is 2,300 meters above sea level. This is the Catura. We have the geisha as well, very similar geisha with the geisha that won the Cup of Excellence.
Now, is that higher altitude than Ethiopia? Some of the highest altitude?
Yeah, the El Obraje farm, they have between 2,100 to 2,300. That one is so, even the size of the bean is smaller, like the seed, you know, like the geisha type.
We have a comment here. I found a really nice acidity in the amazing washed Brazilian microlots and honey processes too. Fantastic. Yeah. And Jonathan says, I love the fact that they taste very different in all kinds of ways. Very true. And I don't know in terms of acidity which one has the highest, because I'm finding it hard, Daniel, to reset my palate in between. Is it just a simple sip of water, or should I do something else?
Well, that's something that I work really hard on 3 times competing at the world level. And I can't really share that info with you. No, I'm just kidding. I will. So basically what you have to do, you can eat a banana. Banana is really, really good for reset your palate. Any crackers with fibers, but no salt or no nothing, plain crackers. They full of fibers, and like everything that has lots of fibers will reset your palate. Again, sparkling water is something really good to reset your palate.
I like that. Sparkling water, crackers, brilliant.
Or bread. Eat bread. Any sourdough bread, that will be fine. Eat bread. Yeah, you have to, as a professional copper, you have to taste a lot of coffees. Or when on a farmer sends you like 20 samples and you have to roast them and cup them, you have to do it. It's going to be a long day of tasting coffee. You don't want to skip a lot or two just because you're tired or you can't taste anymore. So you have to find ways to make it work, Well, I just want to say I love all the coffees. They're so different between them, but so unique. Every single one of them, I love it. Super nice, nice, all of them. It's if we talk only about mouthfeel can be given as well from the roast profile, because mouthfeel is very attached to the body. You can have a coffee that has, let's say, a creamy, silky body, but with low body. Mouthfeel with low body. It's not. You need to have, So every coffee is like the body's point of view. I found it medium. Some of them too high. None of them they show low body. Or maybe the Ethiopia is more like a tea-like.
Yeah, I mean, Gary says he finds number 2 the most acidic. And I find that surprising because number 4 has this off the charts acidity, but everybody's palate is slightly different. So I'm just curious, Daniel, how do you navigate this complex world of subjectivity versus objectivity?
So first of all, what I found from all coffee in terms of acidity intensity is number 4.
Yeah, agreed.
That's the highest intensity, but you have different type of acidity.
Yeah.
You have malic acidity that is not really like a citrus acidity. Try to think you eat the apple and then you eat the lemon. And I don't recall who said that the number 2 is the highest.
Gary Savage believes that's the
Gary.
Acidity.
So you have there a pure citric acidity in the number 2, and with a let's say kind of like acidic and citric in the number 4.
Yeah.
And malic.
So what increases that acidity? Are you saying that it's something else that makes the acidity feel stronger subjectively because of that?
So, first of all is the bean quality. As higher altitude, as higher the acidity. I'm talking now about classic processing. Let's talk about washed, right? And as higher the altitude, as higher the acidity will be. Because bitterness is a compound, the bitterness in coffee is because of the caffeine, and the stronger bitterness will be on low altitude because it is kind of like a auto protect weapon against bugs, insects, and other bacteria that they can affect the coffee plant. So that's the way to protect themselves from predators or diseases. Then another one is the roast profile. If you go long with the roast profile, you're going to kill the acidity. If you go fast, you're going to have more acidity. Yeah. Like what is very important as a sensory point of view, if you get a coffee and it's super underdeveloped, not even reach the first crack, the coffee naturally will look probably like, let's say this color, because I know it's not really, but kind of like an orangey color. More like a tea, and it's super, super sweet. It's no acidity, and it's no balance, no bitterness. So you have to understand how cooking the bean really works for certain beans, and then you have to understand how to balance it by development and by. It's very complicated to talk about roasting now because there's a lot of factors and we have a different discussion now. But there are factors that from roasting you can affect the acidity as well.
Right.
So you always have to go. You have a shorter roast profile. Say SCA recommended between 8 and 12. So let's say if you keep 8-9 minutes there, you'll be much acidic than 11.5, 12 minutes. If you have the same batch size.
Wow. Okay. Now, people have what's that? Beautiful long finish on number one. Gary agreed. Number one, your coffee, Daniel, is, I don't know, the sweetness is almost supported by this warm biscuity feeling. There's something in the body that's so special. What is that? It's almost, it's not marzipan, it's not cake, but it's not fruit. It's a sweet, fruity cake feeling. And I love that it underpins everything.
In the body, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, body is for me. It's very unusual for Brazil because it's not even medium. It's below medium. So it's more. Is if I compare number 2 with number 1 in terms of body, they're quite similar.
But compare number 1 and number 4. Oh my God. They're talking about extremes, but wow. So beautiful. Right, flavor notes. So this is where we start to go a bit nuts, everybody, and we see the individual palates and imagination of everyone. Because like Mordy reminded me, flavor note identification is mostly memory association. So if you are saying this tastes like a certain thing, it's because you've had that fruit or something that you're tasting in the past. So we will have a collective, shared, similar tasting note experience, but also a very individual one. And the important thing is that you carry your description as far as you can. So if you're saying, I taste fruit, what kind of fruit? If you say you taste orange, maybe there's something even more specific. Is it a young orange? Is it burnt orange? Is it orange biscuit? Try to find as specific a point as possible, because by doing that, you are extending and accentuating your sensory muscles, if you will.
Jonathan says number 1.
Number 1 is wonderful. It reminds me of Christmas, maybe a kind of cake, like you said, Tim. Yes, I'm just getting a wonderful sweet fruit cake experience. And it's not so much fruit cake, because that has a certain taste. It's just
kind of like a pear tart. It's a lot of malic acidity that try to think when you eat a pear and start to get sweet, round, and then it kind of dries your mouth a little bit. It's something like that. Yeah, it's for me, it's like, because the mixture with the acidity, now the acidity start to change because it's quite complex from hot to cold. And when it was hot, was more like a pear cider. And then when it cools down, you get more like the cacao notes and more like caramel sweetness. That cider aspect of it, you know, that acidity that was more intense when it was hot, it started to mild a little bit and get more like a pear tart, as Tim said. It started to get kind of like the malic acidity start to get more into it.
right. And I'm just curious, briefly, could you tell us, when you are tasting lots of new coffees, what is it that you're drawn to immediately? Imagine these 4 coffees here, or the 3 that aren't yours, and you were tasting them. Would something in these be something that would excite you, that you would want to then work with? Or are you looking for something specific each time? I'm always curious to learn what roasters...
I'm looking for mainly 4 things. Complexity, balance, the wow effect, and of course the origin from where it's coming from, because that's very important as well. And
brilliant.
You know, like the old is difficult. Like if you ask me now blindly, like I have to buy 4 coffees and you give me those, I'll buy all 4, right? And but you always have to understand that they're different, you know, and they're you can't really compare one alongside another because they're different, and you always have to be a little bit objective on this side, especially when you buy. But when you have it at home, it depends how you like it. Like you have to be subjective. But like me, personally, I will focus on those 4 things. If I get a wow, say, wow, this coffee is crazy. I haven't tried something like that before. Like the same, like we're gonna release next week a coffee. Is the best coffee I ever had in my life, and I had so many great, the best by far. It tastes like super strong watermelon, rose hip. Like I was raised when I was a kid back home in Romania with rose hip tea, right? And it remind me of my childhood. So like it's so clean, clear, complex, and it's just insane. And candy lemon, the acidity is just insane. Just crazy that coffee. I had to buy. It's the most expensive coffee we ever bought. We paid $550 per kilo green, and $15 shipping because we got it direct.
Wow.
So it will be a very expensive coffee, but we had to buy it because I love it so much. And I got the wow factor. So every time I got a wow factor, I buy it.
Amazing.
Regardless how much it costs.
Well, your wow factor is
surprisingly
definitely up there. Sorry?
I say like if I get surprised, definitely gonna surprise a lot of people.
Definitely. Right. Well, guys, type your flavor notes on the screen. I'll call them out. Hit me with your flavor notes. This is the part I love the most. We've only got like 10 minutes left. So come on, guys, fire out some of the weirder flavor notes you're tasting. We've already got number 2 is Arnie says number 2 is quite vegetal to me. Maybe edamame. Edamame, yeah, very interesting. So this vegetal experience, I hope it's not a negative one. I usually find vegetal to be under roasted coffee, not a positive experience. I hope you mean it in a good way. Morgan says number 1, I got a little beanie flavor as green apple and pear. Yes, gentle stone fruits mixed with this sort of cake-like sweetness in the body for number 1 for me. Now I'm going to quickly fire out some other interesting notes. Let's see what I'm getting.
Someone mentioned about number 2 that is greenish flavors, right?
Yeah.
That's the typical washed Ethiopian. Is more like Earl Grey. For me, it's peachy Earl Grey tea, and a little bit of It's more like jasmine when it's hot. It's very jasmine-like.
Yeah, I agree. This can be almost a typical Ethiopian flavor, but I never get tired of it. Ethiopian coffees that are clean, bright like this, they'll all be slightly different, but you will start to feel, I'm getting a very typical Ethiopian experience, but it's just such a great one. And very, very clean as well. I know that Hillside are attracted to the very, very clean coffees.
Why change it if it's really good? Don't change it. Leave it like that.
Yeah, exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, number 3, so again, when your coffee cools, remember, you want to enjoy your coffee cold because someone told me this. It's very true. Cold coffee reveals the truth. It can often show you that the coffee maybe when it was hot was good, but now that it's cold, not very good. It shows you that maybe it wasn't a classic all the way to the end, or it just got very simple. Sometimes it turns into just cocoa or just lemon or something. And I find that number 3, maybe it's aging now. What?
Aging as well. So when the coffee starts to age, let's say you had a very funky natural process like this one, and let's pretend that this coffee is 3 years old, past harvest. We're not gonna taste the intensity of it when it's hot, but when it cools down, it's gonna fade.
So do you think this coffee is quite, I don't know, it's like...
No, it's not cold. I'm not saying like, but when it cools down, it shows a sign of aging as well. And you're right, it says the truth about the coffee.
Yeah.
A great coffee should be great from hot to cold because that's the complexity.
I see.
Every coffee that is very high and very high score and expensive is because of the complexity and the balance. You have to have a balance.
Very good. Very true. So what else have we got in terms of flavor notes? Right.
Yeah.
Here we go. Number 2, grapefruit, says Gary Savage. Very interesting. That's a particular one I'm not getting, but I see what you're saying. Mark says number 1 for me. It's like a biscuit with dried fruit. Boom. Hope I didn't put that in your head. Number 1 is chestnut, quince, and plums, says Bruna. Now I'm going to taste number 1 again for that. Hold on. I can't connect with Prince. But again, this is a memory thing. You're going to connect with different things because of your memories. Your taste buds have memories. Okay. Number 2. Morgan says number 2. Honey, green apples and pear. Very true. Let's move on to number 4. Nobody's talked about number 4. Come on. Earl Grey, number 2. Yes, Gary. Jasmine and lime, says Bruno, in number 2. 3 has cacao. It's very cacao now. So number 3 is cooling down, is revealing maybe that the blend or the simplicity of the coffee or something is coming through. It's very cacao. Number 4 is off the chart crazy. Wow. It just gets more acidic as it cools for some reason. And the finish just goes on and on with number 4. I love it. Number 4 could be a foreshadowing of next month, Xmas spices. Very interesting, Arnie. Could be, you know. It's going to be a wild one next month.
It's like a cocktail of tropical fruits, the 4th one. Like you get a lot of pineapple, mango, just insane. Kind of like bubblegum.
Wow. Now that you've said that, you see, when somebody suggests something,
like kind of like roomy.
You're absolutely right about the bubblegum. It is this strange mix of booziness and candy. It's like getting an Alka-Pop. I don't know if you have those in your country, but in England we have Alka-Pops. And I'm getting that sort of sweet child alcohol drink sensation from number 4. Crazy.
I really like number 4. That's type of coffees that we love the most. The boozy ones, fermented one. Some people might not like those type of fermentation because they think it's too much, it's too boozy. Again, this is wonderful roasted. We love it. It's not over fermented for me.
Yeah,
it's just super complex. And
I highly recommend you. Daniel, I recommend you work with him. If you ever in the future are looking for another producer in Costa Rica, this guy is incredible. He's such a sweet guy and he does really amazing things. And it was Mordy that got us onto this coffee. So in the future, we're going to have some of you help us select coffees for our coffee club. And we want to unroll this. Sorry? Okay, what's next? Morgan says Stardust for number 4. Passion fruit, says Jonathan van der Broek, for number 4.
Yeah.
Blood orange. Wow. Raisin. You see, everybody's got their own take. It's really interesting. I taste overripe banana, says Jeremy Ling. Prunish, passion fruit, and winey. Winey is a good one. I love that some coffees like this, when you drink them cold, I forget that I'm drinking coffee. I do feel like I might be drinking wine.
Winey depends. Wine is quite tricky because winey you get a lot of acetic, and this one is not really that winey. It's more like roomy.
Yeah.
It has a thick texture. The mouthfeel is very, very licorice. It's super complex. It's not the acetic winey. It will be very sparkling. You're gonna have, depends now what you can have, a lot of phosphoric acidity and a lot of acetic acidity. This one has acetic acidity, but has a lot of citrus, a lot of malic, tons of malic, a lot of tropical foods, mix of tropical foods, and it changed from hot to cold, like so dramatically. So it's a really, really complex coffee.
Wow. Well, thank you, Mordy, for catching that coffee for us. And yeah, just so you know, guys, we're going to get you involved in doing that sort of thing in the future, recommending roasters, recommending coffees. This is a community-driven subscription, and we want it to be more and more powered by you guys. So helping us discover new coffees and bringing them into the set is going to be something exciting that we open up in the future more. Looking forward to that. It's time to wrap it up. It's been an hour. It's been fantastic. Remember to upload your cards after all this if you want to win this spoon, and also just to have your information collected and part of the coffee club experience.
Before we go, let's do Q&A. If that anyone have.
Right, that's a very good point, Aiko. So let's hand over now to you to come up with any questions you want to ask Daniel about the cupping, about his experience, about roasting, about brewing coffees in general. Anything you want to know from Daniel, here's your chance. Ask away. And I should have warned you earlier to sort of come up with a question. So I'll give you a minute to think of what you might want to ask a super professional like Daniel. I know that I'm going to learn a lot from him. And we will be working with you again in the future, because every coffee I drink by this man is absolutely incredible. And this Brazil is probably my favorite on the table here today, because it's just exhibiting a new kind of sweetness that I didn't get when I was brewing it, filter brewing it. And it's that cake-like sweetness. I didn't fully appreciate that until now. Really fascinating coffee. Jonathan asks, Daniel, what's the most weird extreme taste you've ever had in coffee?
The weirdest taste?
Yeah.
Flavor, you mean?
Yeah, what's the weirdest coffee experience you had, maybe?
I think I can say that the weirdest in the wrong way, the weirdest in the good way.
Yeah,
we start with the good way. I already said. Actually, there too is the Brazil that I just bought, the Tapazio variety, the masterpiece.
This one. Okay.
And it just blew me away. And because
Why?
I knew it was from Brazil, and I was no way. Every person that I gave the coffee to try, they thought it was a Panama. And the second great experience was with the one from Panama that I actually bought Kule Lot. It's an innovation. It's a new processing that they launched in 2021.
What's the process?
Yeah, it's a new type of process. The coffee called Kule is in their innovation program of 90 plus Panama State. And this coffee for me is like super luxury just by every aspect of it. It's something that if you truly love coffee, once in your life you have, forget about the price. I always said I'd rather explain the price once than complaining about the quality for the rest of my life. It's just blowing away. No words. And the craziest in the wrong way, I think I got a Robusta, fine Robusta, that was super long fermentation, was an experimental process that was disgusting. Was
remember Robusta, you're already
like
losing.
rubber, like cheap rubber boots, and very fermenting in the same time. And I don't even know how to describe it. Was really weird, because it was very imagine the intensity of the fermenting, the process. You can feel it more than any cup that we had today. It was super intense and was super heavy because it was a Robusta.
Do you ever find that sometimes you get a coffee from someone that's like a 14-day anaerobic and they're very excited about it, but you find it maybe just too crazy? I do find some specialty coffees that some people get excited about to just be, it's like they get in love with the process more with the taste.
Did I send you the 400 hours anaerobic?
No.
I will send you a bag. Is that actually it's looking like that?
How long is the anaerobic?
Kawa, I think, from France.
No, but yeah, oh yes, Kawa.
So we have the same lot, and it's a strip bourbon, 400 hours anaerobic fermentation. Jeez. This coffee, it's super difficult to brew, to roast. I'm brewing, let's say, as a pour over V60 in 1 minute 40, and I extract 1.4 TDS. It's a you need to extract it really fast, otherwise it tastes really bad.
Okay.
Very tricky coffee, but when you nail it, it's unbelievable. Super complex, no intense. It tastes in level with the fermenting intensity with number 4. So it's very pleasant. It's not too much, but if you brew it wrong, it tastes really bad.
Wow. Well, I like a good
400 hours. I never experienced 400 hours. I have now another coffee from the same producer, 480 hours.
He keeps pushing it.
Yeah, and I always gonna support him for that by buying his coffee.
Fantastic.
And, yeah, that's you actually said a very true thing. Like now it's a new trend with a lot of new innovation processing, but you can't just start suddenly now and do that. And people have to understand, and the producer have to understand that it's very difficult to replicate from a year to another year, even though you use the same thing, the same everything, the same. You can't get the same results, and you need to have skills to do that. You're not just okay, I want to do that. You do it and you sell it. It might not taste good. Yeah, it's a trend. I love it. Me personally, I love it. I encourage people to do that. And I always find it interesting, you know, to try new things and to move coffee forward and to evolve. Like, can you imagine like this Brazil, that number 1, if you play with the process and you do from a semi-washed, that is a standard pulp natural, between natural and wash process, right? And you do kind of like a mix, cold fermentation, anaerobic, and suddenly become like tropical fruits and more candy-like and more silky, and that would be lovely, no? So you can, as a farmer, you can increase your reputation and you can increase your income. So that's what our mission is in Sumo, and I think this is our mission. Like I'm talking ours, like all the roasters, is to put farming on the map and to try to encourage them to make better quality coffee. Because that's specialty. You know, if we wouldn't do that, it's not specialty anymore. It's just coffee.
Somebody's written, Arne's written, Daniel, any fermentation processes that you are worried about in terms of economic sustainability for coffee producers?
100%.
Good question.
Because it's very, first of all, what we do is we work with farmers. So we encourage them because we buy their, regardless, we buy their product. And you can't just create a trend and without rewarding the farmer. They take chances, you know, the risks. And we need to help them. And we need to communicate with them. We need to talk with them. And we need to be very close with their work. So that's why we focus a lot on direct trade. We rather pay more on shipping. That's okay. Our margin is smaller. That's okay. But in the long term, as a business point of view, it's great for both us and them. So it is sustainable, 100%. Yeah, it's more sustainable. First of all, you use less water. I've been to Palma El Tucan. They have a way of doing things there. They're super sustainable. They reuse the water. They filtrate. They have their own filtration system. They reuse the water. They filtrate the water that they use in processing. They filtrate it, and they have their own fertilizer. They make their own fertilizer. They replant palm trees. They repopulate the area with bees. You know, and because the environment around the farm is very important for the quality of the coffee, and the microclimate as well is affected because of the environment that we take out to replant coffee. So it's very sustainable. I believe that using a right processing method could be very sustainable in a very long term.
Wow, that's fascinating, because I would have thought the opposite, but that's really good to hear. There's a cat in the taster set box there. It's good to see, Nugget. Now, my last question, just going to ask, it's a good important one, is what is your go-to kit at home for brewing? Because a lot of people like to know, what is the minimum they would have? What was the minimum you would use? And what is your ideal setup?
So I start the day every morning. I wake up first 15 minutes before my fiance, and I make a coffee. I'm using my Mocha Master. I'm brewing half a liter, so it's enough for both of us. She's like a zombie. If she doesn't have coffee, she gonna turn on me, and I don't want that. But that's my first coffee, and then I have another 2 free. And normally I'm brewing by hand. I'm using either V60. Most, like not most, all of my pouring techniques are conic. It's not that I don't like flatbeds like Kalita, or I'm let's say for origami I'm using a Kalita filter. It's not that I don't like it. It's just I like more clean and crisp from my pour over. So I believe that Kalita filters are very well for more body and more structure. But I can achieve more body and more structure by changing the ratio and the way I pour. So I always aim for clean and more crisp cup than more body.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of conic filters.
Conic.
So V60, origami, gem. I'm brewing a lot on gem. It's a gem by Stefano Damakiotis, the world champion from Greece in Brewers Cup. And I don't remember the year, probably 2016, if I'm not wrong, or 17. And he invented, actually, I'm going to show you guys. He invented.
Okay. Wow, that's really surprising. A professional cup taster champion who doesn't use a flat bottom brewer.
So he's invented this device called Gem in collaboration with Brewista, and it has a lot of vertical, horizontal ribs inside.
Yeah.
So basically, what it does, it's from porcelain. First of all, is from my experience, it is top in terms of thermostability.
Yeah.
And plus, you have this lid on top, right? That gives you very consistent pour every single time, because you pour always from the same height, and you're always gonna pour in the middle.
Oh, wow.
And you're always gonna have the same flow rate all the time. And it's fascinating. It's very fast. I found it like a fast brewer. And then if you use a fast paper filter as well, you can achieve really great things in a very, very short brew time. And I believe that is really great for competition, because you talk more and you focus less on what you do. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
I love it.
And then I'm using origami as well. It's like I like flatbeds as well, but I'm not using them that often.
Well, we're going to have to get you into the Orea. It's an amazing fast brewer. I think you'll enjoy it. So
yeah, I would love to try it. Actually, I think the founder texted me, and we chat a little bit about it.
Yeah, you should. You're both from the same part of the world as well. Orea, I think, is from where is he from? Maybe Lithuania, one of those countries near you. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's you always have to be very open-minded in terms of that. Like obviously I have every brewing gadget, you name it, I have it. But it's convenience as well.
Right.
So sometimes I have this in front of me, I'm brewing this. Sometimes I have the origami. Sometimes I have the V60. So doesn't really. I'm not that a tech person, because I'm not competing. I'm doing coffee for myself, and I like to enjoy it as it is, as you guys at home.
Yeah, but this has been amazing. Thank you so much. We'll wrap up now. It's been long enough. Thank you so much, Daniel. Really amazing.
It was a true pleasure for me being here. Now it's time for me to go and roast some coffee with this bad boy. I don't know if you see it here. You can see it, the roaster?
Yep.
Yeah.
Looks amazing.
Yeah.
Love your work.
Such a pleasure. And yeah, team, thank you guys. Until next time, keep caffeinated, yeah? All the best.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you, everyone. Now you get out of here. Go have a great day. And
You too, guys. See you.
Bye, Daniel.
Bye.
I'll say goodbye to everyone now.
Bye.
So you all know, before you go, the spoon will happen when you upload your tasting card. One of you will win the spoon. The rest of you buy one. It's an incredible thing. And the cupping bowls, we'll have them for sale as well. That will make cupping really easy. Lots of fun. They're ideal bowls, quality made, and they've got the logos on, so you won't ever get confused about what coffee you're using.
It's very limited edition.
It's a very limited edition as well, so we only have a few sets. Christmas edition's coming soon. Nucket's crazy design. Love the skull thing. We want to get you all collaborating. Remember, this is a community-powered thing. So if you know a roaster in your country and have a coffee that you want to put in the set, let us know. Contact us. It could be part of the set. And then obviously special treats to the people that help us get involved and help us choose a coffee for that set. So yeah, that's to come. We're going to add a lot of new exciting people and get people involved so you learn more. Daniel hosting today was just the beginning. We've got a lot of other stuff to come. Look at that cat. Anyway, that's it, guys. We're done. Thank you so much for joining. Lovely to see you all. Gary, Jeremy, Mark, Arnie, Julia, Jonathan, Tanti, Bruna, Monica, and Nadia. Thank you so much, guys. See
Thank
all
you.
soon.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.